we have a particularly complicated looking integral here. Okay, so first of all, let's break it down into a more simple question. Let's say instead that I've got the integral of just, let's say cos 3x. All right, what does that equal to? Okay, so the rule of thumb is whenever you have a trig function like cos or sine, the very first step is to switch it and then write the guts of it, which are inside the force field, so inside these little force field brackets, right? That all stays the same. So cos goes to a sine, and then we write 3x. The next step is that because we're integrating, we need to divide by that number there, that 3. Okay, and then I'll just write plus c for keeping everything consistent here. But because we're doing a definite integral, which means that we find like the area under a curve with specified bounds, we have one thing minus another and the c's cancel out. So for now, we know that cos gets changed into a sine, and then the 3x stays the same. We divide by that 3, but we need to know, is this a plus or does this become a minus? So there's a little mnemonic that I use, which is DC Comics is worse than Marvel Comics. I totally think so, right? Like maybe Batman was good, but to be honest, most of the Marvel comics are better. Okay, is worse than Marvel. Okay, so what does this what does this mean here? So we've got if you differentiate, if you diff cos, right, you will end up with a sign, and it's worse, so you get a negative. If you integrate sine, you end up with a cos and it's worse, so you end up with a negative. Whereas in this case we don't, so we can just leave it as a positive. Cool. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's complete the rest of it here. So I'm gonna redraw it all out and we will start from the beginning. So we've got this pi on 6 and this pi on 3, and we've got this thing here, this cos 3x minus pi sine 3x all with dx there. Okay, so first step is let's do the integration. We've already done the first bit here, so the cos becomes a sine. That's a 3x divide by 3, right? And so when we dc, uh, we integrate sine, but in this case integrating cos, so it is left with just it being a positive there. So then we go minus by the cos, the sine becomes a cos. We have a 3x there, and we divide by 3. Now, because we are integrating sine, we get another negative, and two negatives make a positive, right? You can think of the minus and the minus, they make the positive. Two wrongs make a right, and so that is all there. So then what we normally do is we draw the upper limit and the lower limit here, okay? So what that means is we're going to take this guy and substitute it wherever we see that x there. And then we're going to take this guy and substitute it wherever we see that x there, but it's all going to be minus. Okay, so let's do that. Let's write the first bit. I like to keep the square brackets because these tend to get a bit big. So anyway, I'm going to write it in here. Now just to save space, if I substitute in a 3 and then I've got like a pi on 3 or divided by 3, right? Then those cancel out and I'm just left with a pi. So I'm going to go straight to that in my solution. So we've got sine. Now again, that 3, like all of that, it's just left with a pi there. And then all divided by 3. And then plus. And then again, we're just going cos. All right, and then this time here we've got just a pi here. And we all divided by 3. So that's the first bit in pink, right? Now let's go to the next bit, right? And so we can say that is a minus by. Let's give ourselves a little bit more space. Now, just to save a step here, it's going to be that 3 times by pi on 6, right? which is just like 1/2. So it's a pi all divided by 2, all divided by 3, plus cos. All right, and then there we got that pi and that 2, all divided by 3. Okay, so we need to use a unit circle to make our lives a lot easier here. We have a unit circle here, and we go around the unit circle. And this axis here is x. Now, you've got to crawl, right? So cos, you've got to crawl, and that gives you your x-axis. Whereas sine, you touch the sky, right? And so that gives us our y-axis. Now, we've got 2 steps here. All the way around to the half is pi. So this point here. At this point, it's a unit circle, right? So the radius is always 1. So from here to here, that's 1, right? But in this case, from here to here, we go -1 back and we go 0 up, which means our cos is going to be -1 and our sine is going to be 0. So we can substitute that in. I'll do that now. So because we started, right, that pi, that's like all the way around, like halfway around, then we can use that. So what I can say from that one there is that sine, we'll start off with cos of pi, that is equal to -1. Sine of pi is equal to 0. Okay, now let's go to the red stuff, which is just pi on 2, which we go around to here, and that gives us this point. Okay, so this point is going to be 0 across, but it's going to be 1 up. Okay, 0 across, but 1 up. Cool. Let's go the next step, and let's write that in. So now we've got cos of pi on 2. Okay, that there is equal to 0, whereas sine of pi on 2, that there is equal to 1. Now we can substitute it in. Okay, so we can say this is all equal to, and then we start off with our sine pi all divided by 3. So our sine pi is going to be 0. So 0 divided by 3. And then we plus, and we've got a cos, right? And that is equal to -1 all divided by 3. Now we go to the opposite. It's sine, right? It's all divided by 3. And we've got sine 1/2, which is this guy here. And that's just equal to 1. And then we say plus all divided by 3. And then we've got that cos, which is equal to 0 there. And so that's looking pretty good. We can delete that. We can delete that. And when we go across, we're just left with a -1/3, right? -1/3, -1/3. Okay, we're getting pretty close. So now what we can do here is we can combine them. Okay, so it's like you've got a pizza slice, right? And there's thirds, and you've got 1, and you add another one, right? So that's like -1, -1, and that is equal to -2. So that's why they've got a common denominator, so you can merge the fractions there. Cool, that's it. So the hardest thing is remembering your unit circle, the trig, integrating. The negative sign always gets me. So just remember DC Comics, right, is always worse than Marvel. Other than Batman, that was pretty good. Now, we've got plenty of questions like this on our website. You can find them in the link below, and they're all exam level questions. So you're not stuck doing the same tedious questions from a textbook that aren't even going to appear in your exam. So this will test you, right? There's fully worked solutions, there's hints available, and every single one has a YouTube video explaining it in detail. If you still need help, we offer tutoring, online or in person, even group classes. So reach out if you're interested.